Hi, everyone. Welcome to the third edition of the basketball training tapes for the 2024-25 season, being brought to you by the Wisconsin Officials Association Alliance. It's kind of crazy to think that we're already over halfway into our basketball season, and just last week, our playoff assignments in Wisconsin have been released. So we're gearing up into the home stretch for the postseason. But before we get to that point, hopefully today's training tape will give you some good topics to consider going into the next portion of the season. A few disclaimers before we watch today's clips. This training tape is a product of the Wisconsin Officials Association Alliance and does not constitute any official instruction given by the WIAA or the NFHS. This is just a training tape that our association has put out on our own accord for officials to use as they will. The videos and comments made are meant for a three-person high school crew. Clips may include games at the college level, but for those clips, we're just going to focus on three-person high school mechanics and rules. No video or comment made in this training tape is intended to call out or degrade players, officials, coaches, or teams in any way. The content is intended to look at plays and situations to help officials improve during the basketball season. And this film is an individually created resource by our association, and it's strictly intended for educational purposes only, again, to hopefully allow us to improve our officiating during the season. If you have any questions or concerns at all, please feel free to contact me at my email listed there. My name is Kent Meehee. I'm a WOAA member, and I serve as the basketball co-chair for the Wisconsin River Officials Association. Before we get into today's training tape, I also want to give a shout out to all the officials that are either watching this film or that I've worked with, or any basketball official out there that's watching this tape. Last week we had our Winter Officials Appreciation Week, so I do want to give a shout out to all you officials who you guys put in so much work over the season, whether it's traveling, working games, working long hours, breaking down film. You guys put in so much work during the season, and hopefully, you were shown some appreciation last week by any either a school that you worked at or by another colleague. But I wanted to recognize all officials for the work that you put in, and the fact that you're watching this training tape shows that you are looking to improve and to get better as you go. So, just want to give a shout out and appreciate all that you officials do during the basketball season. Our first clips that we're going to watch today cover the topic of positioning. When we look at film, a lot of the times we want to focus on our play calling. We want to look at, did we make the correct call? Should we have had a whistle on this play, and so on. But maybe more important than our play calling is our positioning, because if we're not in a dependable position to make a call, then our calling accuracy goes down. So, some things that we want to take note in these upcoming clips are when to move to improve. If there are certain times where you're looking through the back of a player, that's probably not a great angle to have. So we want to either step down or step up or around the play just so we can have a better angle. When we go to home base at any of the three key spots, obviously the play is going to change over the course of a possession. So we either have to rotate or move to just have a better angle on the play, because we have to, those next 2 points, we have to be able to see the space between defenders. That's where a lot of the contact can occur. So we need to move to be able to see that space. And we have to anticipate drives or matchups that enter our primary. If we're too close down or we're not in a dependable position, we're not able to accept those new plays that come into our primary. And again, our calling accuracy isn't going to be great. So, one of the things we always have to ask ourselves is, do I have the best angle on this play? So, are these first couple clips that we're going to watch are going to focus on our positioning, and are we in the best angle to make the plays that we're going to look at? This first clip is right off the tip of this game that we're watching. So there's a couple of things that we want to focus on this play. First, I want to look at our trail official that is in front of the table. Initially, this trail does a really good job of stepping down and getting into position to have the best angle on their play. So as we can see here, the trail notices a play go onto the wing, and they step down to be able to see that space in between those defenders. Then on the shot, they also step down towards the play to be able to officiate rebounding action. So the trail does a really good job of, again, this play here, they step down to see that space between the defenders, and they're moving to improve their angle on these plays. Now, I will say, with that being said, when the ball comes to the top of the key, I believe the trail is already in a good position to officiate that matchup. So we want to make sure not to get too much happy feet and move too much on these plays. So again, if we watch the trail official as the play comes into their primary, they do a great job. They step down to see the space between the defenders. They probably could have stayed where they were to officiate that matchup at the top of the key, but then they do a nice job of stepping towards the play to officiate any rebounding action. The other thing I want to look at with this play is our center official opposite of the table. We can see the center official is walking down the court to get in their home base, and then maybe doesn't have the best angle on the 3-point shot attempt. So to start off, we'd like to see the center official just show a little bit more hustle to get to their home base, because we don't know whether push might happen in the lane. We don't know if there will be a screen or a cut towards their primary. So, like we said at the beginning, we want to make sure that we're in a dependable position when those plays come into our primary. So as we can see, the center, we're just a little slow to get to home base, but then we're not ready to step down and see the space between uh, the shooter, red number one, and the defender. Uh, maybe their feet were on the line. Maybe there was contact on the hand. We don't have a great angle to see this play. So as the center official, if we can hustle a little bit more to get into the angle of the play, then we're able to accept that swing cut by red number one, and we're able to step down a little bit to see the space in between red number one and the defender. On this play, again, we want to focus on the center official when we look at the drive to the basket. So the center official at the start of the play gets to home base nicely, but when the center official has this matchup in their primary, they are still taking a few steps away from the play. And the further away we are from a play, the lower our calling accuracy gets. It looks like the center official steps towards half court to officiate the matchup with white number three at the top of the key, but the center has to understand that that can be um, the trail's primary area as well. That could be the trail's responsibility to watch on this play as well. So the center official, we would like to see them stay at the free throw line extended for this play. And then when the ball goes towards the basket, when the drive goes towards the basket, we'd like to see the center step down towards this play and follow that matchup towards the rim. Again, we can see here they step up away from the play, and they don't have the best angle because they increase their distance away from the play. So here, again, the center official could step down as that drive goes towards the basket, and that way we can have a better angle at that drive. The next two clips we're going to watch will focus on the lead's positioning. I feel as the lead, sometimes we get a little too closed down, and that decreases the level of accuracy that we can have at plays at the rim. So as we can see, the lead official, they are at home base, which is good, but we can see that there's no post matchups in the paint at all for them to watch. So there's really not a great reason why we're stepped down that far. And then we can see that when there's a drive into the lead's primary, the lead kind of looks straight down at the matchup, and they kind of get bunched up against the end line. Now I know with this court especially, the end line isn't very big. You know, we can't step off the end line. There's limited space here. So as the lead with when we are in gyms that have limited space along the end line, we want to stay a little bit wider on this play so that we're able to have a more wide open angle on drives to the basket. So if we look at the end line, again, on the drive to the basket, the lead is kind of pinched down and looking down straight down at the floor because they have to look at the end line for if they're out of bounds, and then they're just not have a great angle if there's any contact on the drive. So if the lead were standing maybe on the H, if we look at the end line where it says Hillman, they're able to accept this play a little bit easier and they're not so bunched up along the end line. So as the lead, let's make sure that we stay just a little bit wider so we can have a more wide open angle and it's easier for us to accept plays that come into our primary at the basket. This play is also looking at the lead's positioning. And we can see again in this play, the lead is just a little bit too pinched down on the end line towards the lane line extended. We have a post entry, and it looks like some contact as the defender goes into the shooter. And like we mentioned on the last play, if the lead is able to stay a little bit wider on this play, they would have a much better angle to see that space between the defenders. So if we look at the end line, if the lead was standing maybe on the K, in between the K and the S on the end line, they can see that space and are able to get this shooting foul on white number 30. So again, as the lead, just make sure that we don't get too pinched down on the lane line because when we stay wider, we have a better wide open angle and we can increase our calling accuracy on plays in the post. Our last clip that we're going to watch that touches on positioning looks at a play in transition. So we have our new lead official following a matchup in transition, and it looks like we have a shooting foul at the rim. Now, one thing to keep in mind with plays like this, more often than not, we will get beat down the floor in transition. Um, the high school players that we have now in Wisconsin, they're very athletic, they're fast, they're quick. So it's very common for us to get beat in transition. On a play like this, if we are still moving on plays to the basket, again, we decrease our calling accuracy because it's harder to make a good judgment when we're moving and the players are moving. So in this play, we would like to see this lead official stop momentarily at the free throw line extended. That's usually the spot where the center is the home base. And we make those calls very frequently over the course of a game when we're standing at the free throw line extended. So in this transition play, we'd like to see the lead official just stop and hesitate momentarily at the free throw line extended so that we can have a stationary view of this play. Now, let's say the shot didn't happen and the white player turned around to try and pass the ball back out and set up their offense. At that point, then we can hustle back down to the end line and get in position as the lead official. But on transition plays like this, it's okay for us to stop at the free throw line extended and just get a stationary view of this play. And again, by doing that, we increase our calling accuracy and are in a more dependable position. Our second topic for today's training tape is allowing plays to start, develop, and finish. As we get into these late season games, there's going to be a lot of physicality. The conference races for conference championships are heating up. Uh, Teams are going to be fighting for our seeds in the playoffs, and we're going to have very competitive games that are going to lead to physical matchups and physical contact. However, not all contact is illegal. So we have to be able to let plays start, develop, and finish so that we're able to make the right judgments on whether or not there was a foul. So in order to do this, we have to be able to officiate the defense. is the defense in legal guarding position? Do they maintain verticality? Things like that that will help us be able to adjudicate plays correctly. We have to be able to process plays and not react to them. The couple plays that we're going to watch include these tough plays that are at the rim and plays where sometimes we can anticipate contact, but we have to be able to process the whole play and be able to ask ourselves, is there illegal contact or incidental contact? We also need to understand possession consequence. For example, if there is a if a player has initial position on a rebound and they go up and they're able to get the rebound, but there's a little bit of contact, if the rebound is able to be secured, even though there's a little bit of contact, we don't have to punish the defense because that team that gets the rebound is going to get the possession anyway. So if there's not possession consequence with incidental contact, we have to be able to let those plays pass and let the play continue. A common acronym that we hear about in officiating is RSBQ. So another thing to ask ourselves when we look at plays is rhythm, speed, balance, or quickness affected? If any one of those four things is affected on a play, we can lean on the side of that there might be a foul that needs to be called. And the last point that we need to be especially mindful of is being resistant to incidental or marginal contact. Basketball is a contact sport. There is going to be contact that occurs, but not all contact is illegal. So if there is marginal contact, we have to be able to be resistant to that and not jump on fouls. Because if we jump on incidental contact or marginal contact, it's going to be really hard for ourselves and our crew to match those types of plays throughout the course of an entire game, especially when, like I said, there's going to be some physical games that come down the stretch in the later part of the basketball season. So any incidental or marginal contact, we have to allow that kind of plays or allow those kinds of plays to continue without punishing the defense. So this first clip includes a drive to the basket where we've got a legal defender squaring up in the post, and we have a call coming from our center official. Now, on this play, this is a very common play where we have drives to the basket, and it looks like initially the red defender is setting up for a charge. Now, we still have to be in a dependable position to be able to call a potential block or a charge, but we can't anticipate that there will be a foul when a player posts up like this. So we'd like to see our center just have another second or two to process this whole play. And as we can see on film, it doesn't seem like the defender does anything wrong on this play. Uh, White, the white player that gets the ball here, they drive to the basket, and there is a little contact, but there's no illegal contact on this play. So we don't necessarily need a foul here. And if we're able to just again let this play process out and just spend a second or two to see this whole play occur, we're able to again just let this kind of contact pass and let the play continue here. And again, as we can see, this is our first foul that we call in the game. And again, this is not a great one that we want to get early on in the game. This is one where again the defender is legal; they maintain their legality. The offensive player doesn't necessarily do anything wrong either. But if we're just a little more patient, this is a play that we can let pass and let the possession continue. This next clip is very similar to our first clip, where we have a drive to the basket and we have some contact right at the rim. But again, if we let this whole play out, we can see that there's really no illegal contact on this play. The defender is legal and they maintain verticality. The offensive player does go into the defender, but it looks more like the defender loses their balance rather than the offensive player displacing the defender. Again, this type of play is a very common play that we see officials we jump on it too early. And if we call a foul on this too early, now we're guessing on the play. And we're not really calling this correctly if we're guessing. So this crew does a really nice job of allowing the play to start. It starts in the center's primary, it develops in the lane, and it finishes at the rim. And we can see, yep, there's some incidental contact, but there's nothing illegal here, and we can allow this play to play on. So this is just a really, really good patience by the crew on this clip. This is another very common example that we see at the rim that I believe gets called incorrectly a lot of the times. So we have a post player going into the defender, and there's some contact made on the arms of the defender. And I feel that when we see these plays a lot, we sometimes come in with a foul because, well, there's contact on the arm of the shooter. However, if we look at the defender maintains their verticality, and the offensive player is the one that goes into the defender, causing that contact. The crew on this play does a really nice job of just being patient and seeing this whole play through. As we can see, like I said before, the defender maintains verticality and they don't do anything wrong. The offensive player is the one that goes into the defender, and we don't want to penalize a legal defender on this play. And again, we see these plays all the time. So make sure when we have a play like this where an offensive player goes into the defender, we just stay patient. Take a second or two to let this play develop, and we can avoid calling unnecessary fouls. If we want to comment on the positioning, I think the center official on this play does get a little bit too low. If we were able to stay at the free throw line extended as the center, they'd have a better angle at seeing that contact. But overall, the crew again does a really nice job of being patient and not calling an unnecessary foul on the defender. Our last clip just again shows a good example of staying patient as the crew and understanding the development of what's going on in the play. So we can see white 15 gives a pass to white number 1 in the paint, and they make a pass to their teammate in the short corner. When white number 1 gets the ball, it looks like red 21 makes a little bit of contact, but we have to ask ourselves, is that contact preventing white number 1 to go through their normal movements? And the answer to that question on this play looks like the answer is no. So there is a little bit of contact by red 21, but again, the white player is able to make a clean pass to their teammate without being prevented to be able to do that. So again, this is again a common play that we see where we might jump on that contact too early and we penalize the defender when really the offensive player is still able to do what they initially wanted to do, which in this case was pass the ball to their teammate. So I really think that on this play, even though there's a little contact, we just have to be patient, let the whole play finish, and then be able to come in and rule whether there was a foul or not. So again, just on this play, the crew does a nice job of just letting this play finish, and they're able to again avoid an unnecessary foul and let play continue. So in closing, as we go into the next portion of our season, make sure we work to be in dependable positions. And when you watch film over the next course of these next few weeks, don't really focus on necessarily, whether you got the play call correct or not. Focus on the positioning that you're in when you make those calls. And you'll see that when you focus on your positioning, that can really improve our play accuracy and what we do moving forward with our games. And the other point that we focused on again to take into these next few games that we have in the next couple weeks are just refereeing the defense. And when there is contact on a play, just stay patient on the contact, let the play start, develop, and finish, and then you're able to uh, make correct rulings and not call unnecessary fouls. So thank you guys for watching today's training tape. I will say I have been a little under the weather this week, as you may have noticed from my muffled, stuffed up voice. So I appreciate you guys watching, and hopefully I'll feel a little bit better in the next training tape we put out. But good luck in the next couple weeks of your season, and look forward to sending out more content for you all soon.